Hi there, it's the 5th of March 2014 and today I want to talk about personal consumption. Well, I guess the first thing to say is anybody who's looked into the state of our planet and what's going on with the ecology, it doesn't take a genius to work out that the main problem on this planet is that there's a lot of human beings over-consuming and using up Earth's resources like there's no tomorrow. Now, at a personal level, there are things you can do to stop consuming, or stop consuming so much. But yeah, there's certain things you can do to reduce your effect on the environment and reduce your impact as a human being on the global ecology. But the problem is, a lot of it you really don't have a choice. It's very difficult to break away from patterns of consumption. For instance, I'm sure there's loads of people out there who, given the opportunity, if they could have a little small holding, grow their own food, gather their own water from their roof, keep bees, keep a couple of animals, if all that was under your own control, I'm sure most people would be very environmentally friendly, and a lot of people would love to do that. But then the problem comes, for instance, you might be watching this sitting in a council flat in a tower block in the middle of London. You haven't got much money. How are you going to get yourself a nice little small holding and a self-sufficient little farm going? The fact of the matter is, you're not. In fact, there's only one way that you're able to achieve that in this current system, and that's get yourself some kind of qualification or experience that makes you a highly desirable employee, work for 20 years in some job that's contributing to the destruction of the planet, and then you might be able to afford to buy yourself a nice little small holding. But the system does not allow you to just go out and do that. Yeah, it's not made a viable option for most people to be genuinely environmentally friendly. I could walk to the top of that hill and show you surrounding hills in the distance, and they're all privately owned, and even the public land that's within 100 miles of here, you can't just turn up and start living on it. All that's going to happen is eventually you'll just get arrested. You're not allowed to live an environmentally friendly lifestyle. And the reason we're in this situation really is because of inequality and a world run by elites, who are those elites in the modern world are corporations, and if it doesn't make money, it doesn't happen. So no one's giving away free land, no one's allowing anyone to live on their land unless they can pay for it. Yeah, it kind of belies the fact that politicians and political systems don't really care about environmental issues. I mean, when you hear some UKIP nutcase going on about how green issues have taken over everything and you can't do anything anymore, well, this is just rubbish. It's, if anything, things are going in the opposite direction. We're favouring corporations and exploitation of the natural environment more and more as resources become more scarce. And you can be absolutely sure that in my grandparents' generation, there is absolutely no way anyone would have considered opening up the British countryside to fracking. So yeah, the culture has certainly moved towards greater consumption. We expect a higher standard of living all the time, and as a result we're consuming more and more resources all the time, and there's a kind of a cognitive dissonance going on where I think most people know in their heart of hearts that human beings really aren't doing good things to this planet, but we go into denial about it because, well, we don't want to stop doing things. We don't want to stop our nice lifestyle, and we don't want things to become a little bit harder for some kind of environmental benefit that we're not sure if we can actually see. So this kind of encourages us to believe that it's okay to sort of carry on business as usual, carry on consuming, everything's going to be fine because everyone else is doing it, and the mainstream culture seems to be giving the message that it's all okay. But of course these things are happening, and no amount of us pretending that the environment's fine is going to make that come true. The environment will continue being depleted and dilapidated. Probably the important thing is not to feel guilty, really, because this is what causes people to turn away from such issues and then pretend they're not happening. And yeah, so people feel guilty, and one way with dealing with that guilt is just to ignore the issue rather than face the guilt. And but yeah, like I say, you shouldn't feel guilty. I mean, doing a little bit is better than doing nothing. You can only change little bits at a time, and I'd like to see a lot of people change their lifestyle, but I'm never going to condemn them for it. And ultimately, those at the top who shape this culture, they're the ones who I do condemn, because they're the ones who have forced this situation on everyone else. And like I say, I imagine there's a lot of people who would very much like to live self-sufficiently and be guilt-free, and I am by no means someone who's living a completely ecologically friendly lifestyle. I'm not. I try to do whatever I can, and I change things incrementally, like I was saying, and there's things I'm always trying to improve on, but just like you, yeah, I have no choice in the lifestyle I lead to a certain degree. And yeah, for that reason, this is why I say no ordinary person should feel guilty for the way they live, but they should make an effort. And I believe there are some radical solutions maybe, but it does require a change in mindset away from the individualism which we've kind of had drummed into us for at least the last 30 years. That's something we need to overcome and start accepting that other people are part of your world too, as is all the natural environment that we are dependent on. Whether we accept that or not, we are dependent on the natural environment. If this goes, we're all dead. But yes, for instance, one solution to food is you could grow it yourself. Now, as I said, some of you are probably sitting in a council flat well, I don't know whether anyone's watching this, to be honest, but for argument's sake, some of you out there are sitting in a council flat in the middle of London. You haven't got any land, you might have a little patch of green outside the front of your block of flats, and that's it. So how do you get food? How do you get land to grow your food on? You've got to cooperate with other people. You've got to get other people on side with you, get it together, get into a cooperative. I know for a fact that cattle farming in Britain is a dying industry. You can barely make ends meet if you're a cattle farmer, and the amount of rent that the landowner who owns this field gets from renting this field out to the livestock farmer is probably a very small amount. I'd be surprised if it goes much over 4 figures per year. So imagine if this field was instead divided up into allotments, and each allotment cost £40 a year. You could fit an awful lot of allotments in that field. But me, I'm just one guy, and I certainly don't hold all the answers, which is another reason why it's important for people to start engaging and start thinking about the problems the planet faces, and start sharing ideas, because I mean that solution I just gave you, I mean pretty much that's something I just thought of just then. I'm sure if I sat down for longer I could think of a better way of going about the same idea. But yeah, the long and the short of it is the planet is dying. We are killing the planet. There is no doubt about that. You just have to look at any relevant branch of science, right, whether it be ecology, climate science, marine biology, whatever you like, anything dealing with the natural environment, and all the scientists will tell you the same thing. The planet's in a dire state. And quite often the message that is given, or the message people seem to get, is it's your fault, you should feel guilty, you should feel terrible about it. But what I'm saying is don't feel guilty about it, because it's, although you are doing it, it's not your fault. You're forced to do it. And what needs to happen is we need to confront those that are orchestrating this system. Yeah, stop complying with the system, and start cooperating with each other. Start undermining the system through your own cooperation. Start finding solutions and start implementing them. And don't let the corporate bastards control you and tell you what to do.